Welcome, everybody, to a very special Prophetic Rewind Election Monday. We didn't know what to call it, but you know what? Today, Prophetic Rewind, we wanted to show you something special, but I'll get to that. I have my mother and Christy Desfontaine with me today. And, tomorrow is the elections.
Yes.
Here in America, midterm elections. And this has been a greatly anticipated day, especially for me personally this year, because I've traveled around with the Reawaken America tour with General Flynn and Clay Clark and Eric Trump and Roger Stone. And, I've really gotten to see a lot of how things work behind the scenes and how, news and media will prop people up and make them into something either good or bad that they're not. And so when you get to be around some of the people that God has opened the door for me to be around, and I think God did that because he wants us here at the House of Destiny who were with Clement to see prophecies being fulfilled, because the media doesn't always tell you the truth anymore, and you don't hear a lot of things. And so we were able to get in behind there and hear from some of these people themselves. So it's been an incredible year. We have interviewed here at the House of Destiny. We've interviewed General Mike Flynn. We have interviewed Roger Stone. And we have interviewed Eric Trump while they were raiding Mar-a-Lago. It's difficult for us as a ministry because we want to be fair as possible, but at the same time, with some of these things, the things that have happened with the abortion and the things that have happened, these are very hard issues, and you can't just sort of water wash it or make it okay and compromise. There's some things you just cannot accept, and we've seen a spiritual battle, which has been very intense through all of this. There's a definite attack on Christians, relentless Christians and conservative voices. And a conservative voice, I would say, for me and my understanding of it as I've traveled this year, the conservative voices of today, some of them are not Christians, but they understand the necessity for a Judeo-Christian foundation on which Western civilization was not only built, but has been the most successful civilization in all of human history. And as they have tried to dismantle that, what we have seen is absolute chaos and confusion, perversion and manifestations of the enemy as I have never seen in the streets of America, that I never thought I would see happen. And so when we are speaking about voting now, it's not the way we used to speak about it in the 90s when I was in high school and we would do things at school and you got to vote. People feel very unsure about whether their voice is even going to be heard. And the thing is that my mother and father came from a country, being South Africa. They lived under apartheid South Africa, and they did not agree with it, but their voice was not heard, which is one of the main reasons that they moved to America, was for the freedom of being able to say how you feel. And people say, well, what if someone says something terrible and horrible? Well, would you rather know what they're saying, wouldn't you, than have it hidden away? Because when you silence people, you can be silencing good people, which is what is happening now, but also evil can brew. And we need to be aware of that, and we need to not be afraid to face and hear truth. And you have leadership and rulers throughout the world, not just in America, throughout the world, who are a part of an agenda. And we are starting to see that it's not just a conspiracy theory. And as more and more of the truth is exposed, and as more and more of what actually is occurring is revealed to us, more and more people are waking up. And so I'm very honored to have been a part of the Reawaken America tour this year. And it took me across America in a way that I haven't done since I was a child. My mom and dad traveled all through America ministering and going from church to church, all different denominations too, not just the same. And we did see almost every single state. I think maybe Montana, Mom. I don't know, we went there. There's a couple we didn't go to, but we almost went to every state. And I've done it again this year. I've gone to quite a few of them, Arizona and Ohio and Oregon and California and New York and Pennsylvania, just everywhere. I've forgotten all of them. I'd have to look at a list now. I've been to so many. But one thing I saw when I looked across America was that this is a beautiful country. And this is a country full of people who are Christians and who do love their country and they love God. And they are not a bunch of white supremacist terrorists. This is political games that have been taken too far. With media participation, people are paid off, people are controlled, they are controlled by fear. And you cannot believe anymore the way you could before. You can't turn the news on and just trust it. My dad never did. And so that taught me a lesson. Also, you know, this whole science thing has gotten a little out of control too. People shouting about trust the science when the science keeps changing conveniently for the people who are in control. So without that moral foundation, we find ourselves in a very difficult situation right now, especially in America. And I really just want to encourage all of you to vote. And I know you feel like, oh, well, what if my voice doesn't count? Look, it's worth a try. It's better than not voting. And when I asked Eric Trump on our House of Destiny broadcast, I asked Eric Trump about that. I said, well, what about people who feel like their vote isn't going to count because the other side's just going to cheat? And he said, we have to beat the cheaters. We have to win so good that we beat them. And even though they cheat, we still win. And it'll get very difficult for them if the numbers are overwhelming. It was very difficult in 2020, which is why we saw the truth. Mm-hmm. And we had to see that. And so with all that being said, I know I've said a lot. I do have something to share today. And so I'll give you a little foundation. Dad prophesied that Trump would be a trumpet. My father, Clement, prophesied that Donald Trump would be a trumpet. His exact words, Trump will be a trumpet. And he said that from Arizona, from Phoenix, Arizona, which is Maricopa County. And he said that in I believe it was March or April of 2007. The year was 2007. He said Trump would be a trumpet. In February of that year, I think about a month or two before that, he saw a president coming who would be a praying president. He saw the wall, he saw a booming economy, he saw a praying president who would not be a praying president when he started. We have witnessed all of those things. And he also said for 2 terms. And so really that's something we've had to sort of ride by faith at the House of Destiny because, I mean, this has been the most insane, just to try to find out what's actually going on has been so difficult, let alone has a prophecy been fulfilled. So, you know, we have had to rely on faith and prayer and knowing that God did truly speak through my dad and everything else was correct. So yes. He didn't say 2 consecutive terms, but he did say 2. And so I've spent, like I said, this past year with all of the people that are involved there, all the way up to Donald Trump's son, who's become my friend.
Let me break it down. Break it down.
Để em được ngã lưng lên một chút. Cô đơn trên sofa, con tim như tan rã, dẫn lối em trôi theo một khúc ca buồn. Giữa căn phòng ánh đèn chợt tắt, che đi giọt buồn sắp rơi. Cô đơn trên sofa, sao anh yêu cô ta, chẳng phải anh yêu em hơn cả anh mà. Để cho thanh xuân này chợt tắt, che đi giọt nước mắt.
Well, which is very nice, but there's something special about him, and God knew it and said it through my dad, who Dad wouldn't have been able to see that on his own. He wouldn't have been interested in Donald Trump, other than if God told him to be. So that's not all for nothing. And look, there's many, many lies being told, but lots of people tell a lot of lies because of fear. They don't want to lose their control. They don't want to get into trouble, some of these people. And so we need to pray and we need to vote. And with all that said, I have a prophecy to play for you. So Dad prophesied all of those things in 2007. And then just recently, we were having a look at the year of 2007, and we found another prophecy that is so obvious, I think it's about Trump. It couldn't be anyone else. You can decide for yourself. But it appears to me that this is along the same line of those other two prophecies from 2007 where he saw all the stuff that has happened. I have another one. And God is amazing how he works, because here we are coming to these elections. We didn't even know that prophecy was there. Now we found it, and we actually have the video footage and everything. So for our shorter than normal but sweet prophetic rewind today, we are going to debut. I say that tongue-in-cheek. We're not really debuting it. It's a prophecy. But we are on the platform for the first time playing this prophecy for you. And so let's have a look at that, and then we'll come back and say a few things more.
Now God says, a president that I will bring into the White House, and they will say he is ungodly. He does not know God. But even as Jesus disguised himself for the great feast, so I have disguised this man's heart. And when he comes to the White House, not only shall he be mine, but he shall pray as a man that has never prayed in the White House. Is anybody excited about this? That same man says the Spirit of God shall put his feet onto this platform, and God says they will say, how did this take place? Laws shall change. Young men and young women shall have access into the kingdom, and with authority into politics, and with authority into the industries that now have been controlled by darkness, because of this man that shall rule for another 2 terms.
Everybody's stop and everybody's lost. We're gonna keep on dancing. Moving on and clouds. Till the moment we're going up the end of clouds. To the king of desert. To the peace we don't feel for the day they know. So the most selfish time and the most result. Never want to go to the light. Just shine light. One shine light. Let it go. Show us what we're doing.
Terms, God said, do not fear, for the Lord says there will be no unnecessary stuff, but there will be things that men shall question. Fear not, for you shall sit in that seat, and suddenly my Spirit shall come upon him and baptize him with a fire and with anointing, says the Spirit of the Lord. Come on! No more war. No more war! 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 No more! Come on! You listen to me! Time for war has gone. Time of war has gone. Peace shall reign the streets as they have, but not like before. Listen to me. The time of war has gone. Time for peace has come. And I will walk in your streets again. And the house they call white shall receive a man stood in your night. And the house that you call white shall receive a man at night. Fought for you.
So I was just telling my mother how incredible, first of all, that prophecy is. But my favorite is that end part because he sings it. And he said, a knight who has fought for you in your nights. A knight as in K-N-I-G-H-T. That's how it's written in the transcription. And really, I think people don't really understand how difficult this has been for the Trump family. I believe that prophecy is about Trump. It's in the same time period, the same few months he said Trump would be a trumpet. He saw all the stuff. So for me, I believe that that is him talking. And you even see about him talking about them changing the laws and God fighting for us in our streets. And what we've seen over the last few years has been really a need for that, for God to fight for us in our streets. Look at the streets of America. A lot of these big cities are overrun with homelessness and drug abuse. We've got a fentanyl problem. Fentanyl is a synthetic morphine coming from China is what it is. And it really is doing a number on those who are weak in our societies that have problems and issues that find themselves addicted. Yes. It is a terrible thing to see in some of the cities in America what is happening. And we really need God to be fighting for us on the streets, not only in America, all over the world. In Iran, they are fighting in Iran. Even in Russia, the people in Russia that protest what Putin's doing and what's going on over there are being thrown onto the front lines against their will. Young people. God's not okay with that. I know that. And so it's reached a point where I do believe God is going to have to really take the reins and take control. I think he already is. But I was just so inspired by that prophecy because, especially at the end when he said, a knight who's fought for you in your nights. And for the Trump family, this has been very difficult. They don't have to do this. They can go home and live very nicely and no one will ever bother them again. If Donald Trump said, I won't run, I'm done and I'm going to go home to Mar-a-Lago, they would leave him alone and you would stop hearing horrible stories about him being this evil mastermind, which he is not. He is just bold. And God needs bold people right now. I mean, fear has taken over in a way I've never seen before, where people are rejecting their own family members and turning their backs on people that they love out of fear because a news media and a government full of politicians who we all know lie, all of them on both sides, are telling you, oh, we're going to keep you safe. You have to be scared. We're going to keep you safe. Always beware of that. If someone says that to you, you better have a good look before you just believe them, because that person and that spirit also that is behind and driving some of these people is wanting to take your voice away. And the main thing they want to take away is Jesus. And it's written in music contracts and movie contracts with actors and musicians where they are not allowed to speak about Jesus. And I don't understand that. Why would you do that unless you have a particular thing against Christians? And that's why we see drag shows in churches who are being deceived. We have a lot to pray for. We need God in our streets. And so I was very honored to be able to premiere that, or debut it, or whatever word we want to use, show you guys that prophecy, because we didn't even know it was there. And it just was a confirmation right before these midterms for me.
So they need to go out and vote, don't they?
Yes. You have
People
to go out
need
and
to
vote.
go out
Please
and
do.
vote. Make sure you make your voice heard.
Use it while you can.
Yes.
For sure. Okay, well, thank you, everybody, for joining us for this special little prophetic rewind. We don't normally do it this way. Mom joined me, which is lovely, and we got to show you that prophecy. So do share it. We'll be putting it up on social media. Do share it and encourage others to vote. And don't be afraid to say Jesus, and don't be afraid to pray. God will take care of us.
Yes, he will.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us for Prophetic Rewind this week for this special. And we love you. We'll see you next week.